Hello everyone, welcome back. If you are new to Azure and networking terms already feel overwhelming, don't worry. In this video, we will understand private endpoint in the simplest possible way. So if you see here, in Azure, most services like storage account, SQL databases, and web apps are exposed using public URLs. That means by default, the traffic reaches them over the public internet. Even if your application is running inside a virtual network, it can still talk to these services using public endpoint. This creates three big concerns. First, security risk. Second, compliance issues. And unexpected data exposure. Many organizations don't want their data to ever touch the public internet, even if it's encrypted. To resolve all these issues, we have something called as private endpoint. A private endpoint gives an Azure service a private IP address inside your virtual network. So instead of reaching the service over the public internet, traffic stays inside virtual private network. One one thing important here is that with private endpoint we need private DNS as well, because if private DNS is not present, the DNS resolution fail and traffic goes to public. Okay. Important thing also is that private endpoint does not change the service URL. It only changes where that URL resolves to. And in case of, with the use of private DNS, that URL resolves to a private IP. That means we have same URL but different traffic path. In today's demo, we'll use a virtual machine, a storage account, and a private endpoint. We'll see how traffic flows publicly, even from a private VM. Then I'll introduce private endpoint and DNS. You will see traffic become completely private. By the end of this video, you'll clearly understand why private endpoint is used, why DNS is critical. If you are a fresher or preparing for Azure interview, it will save you hours of confusion. Let's start by creating our basic setup and seeing how traffic flows by default. First, I'll create a virtual network. I'll create a new resource group. Let's review the IP addresses. I'll keep this as default. Review and create. Create. We'll wait for the deployment of virtual network. Then we'll go to home. Then we'll create a storage account. Create. Put it in RG demo PE resource group, and I'll give it a name ST. Okay. Standard, I don't need GRS. This one I'll keep as it is. For networking, I'll enable public network access, and then later on I'll disable it and see how private endpoint works. So for now, I'll keep private endpoint as it is. I'm not going to make any changes. Everything else will remain the same, and I'll create. Create. We'll wait for the storage account to be created. Now our storage account is created. We'll create a container. Will it have demo container create? Then we'll upload a file to this container. Okay, I'll go to downloads and I'll upload a random file. Okay. So now we have the virtual network. We have a storage account. Now we need to create a virtual machine. Okay, we'll create a virtual machine. I'll give VM demo E. We don't need infrastructure redundancy. Rest I will select as it is. We need password. I'll give it as Azure user and I will set up a password. Okay. I'll go to networking. I'll select my VNet which I created previously, which is this. It is creating a new subnet, but we can use the default one as well, but let's create the new subnet. We need a public IP because I want to SSH into the demo, into that VM. Rest everything I will keep as it is. Review and create. And we'll create. Now the infrastructure is getting created. Now my basic setup is ready. I've created a storage account, a virtual machine, and a virtual network. So let's log in into the virtual machine. For that, we need the public IP of the virtual machine. We'll just copy it. Okay. I'll open my command prompt. I'll give SSH your user. I'll give yes, and I'll give me the password. And I have logged in into the machine. Now to access the storage account from this, we will have to use the URL, and this is how the URL is will be created. I've already noted into a notepad, so it will be like this: the storage account, the container, and what we want to do. We want to list it. So let's try what has this command and see what happens. So if you see, we get a message that public access is not permitted on this storage account. So even though we have enabled the public access on this storage account, so if you can go to the storage account, right? And if I see networking, it says that public access is enabled, but still I'm getting this error. This is because even though the public access is enabled, I'm not able to establish my authorization. For that, I need storage keys. Okay, I need the SAS keys. So for that, I'll go to demo container. and I will say shared access token. I'll select account key. What is the difference between this? Maybe I'll create a new video to explain all these things. But for now, I'll just select this. I'll create a read and list. Okay, and we will say generate token. I will copy this token, copy it, and again I'll go here and paste it. Copy this, go to my command prompt, paste the command, and you can see I can read the list. Now I'm able to get the details from my container. So now let's do one thing. Now what I'll do is I'll go to my storage account and disable public access. So let's go to storage account. Okay, I'll go to networking, manage, and disable. Now let's run the command again. Now if you see, I'm getting error. So now you must be wondering that even if I have the SaaS, why am I not able to uh, access the storage account? Because the storage account works in, I mean, the Azure access works in first at the network level, second whether you have the authentication, and then the authority, like if you have that or not. But here, since we have disabled public access, we get this error message. Now, what I'll do is I'll create a private endpoint for this storage account in my virtual network. So I'll come here, go to private endpoint, and say click create private endpoint. I'll select the resource group. I will say PE demo, say demo 1. Okay, I'll go to next. I'll create a blob. Okay, because our target is blob, then I go to virtual network. I'll select my virtual network and I select the subnet, right? Let it create it dynamically. That's fine. And this will create a DNS private zone, which I'll mark it as yes. Next, review and create. So we are creating a private DNS. What will happen once we run that curl command again? It will resolve to a private IP. Okay. Now my private endpoint is created. I'll go to the resource. I can see that it's created. Now let's go to home and see the private DNS that is created. Okay. So this is the private DNS that is created. Okay. I will go here and I will check the record set. And I can see that a record type A is present, which resolves to this private address. Okay. So now we can go and check that as well. So first I'll do what is I'll do an NS lookup on this one. I'll go here, I'll give NS. Now you can see it resolves to this private address. And now I will run the same command. And again I am able to access the contents of the blob. So you see that even if I have disabled public access, I am able to access the blob from my VM through a private endpoint. And this is how we can maintain this traffic on Azure network without exposing our URLs to public internet. So I hope this concept was clear to you. And if you want me to create more such videos, please do like and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching this video.